Hi, and welcome to Get Out of Prohibited Status. This webinar is for you if you are currently prohibited in the FMCSA Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse. My name is Miss Jerri, and I'm the owner and founder of Life on the Road Recruiting and Transportation Services. We are an education agency and a driver recruitment agency. My name is Miss Jerri. My team consists of Ray in the middle and Julie. This is us at the Mid America Truck Show a few years ago. We have always been, since the Clearinghouse started, your trusted resource, your trusted advisors for thousands of drivers that have gone through the FMCSA Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse with a violation. So we've helped drivers on the other side of that. We've also been your trusted advisor at trucking schools, at conferences, speaking about how to prevent that violation and not get a violation in the clearinghouse. It's so much more than just failing or refusing a drug test. You need to know other things in that regard, how to carry yourself, how to walk into a drug testing lab, not just sign in, but you got to sign in and sit down. If you leave out, you're at risk for getting a violation in the clearinghouse. So we've helped thousands of drivers get through this process and prevented thousands of drivers from entering this process. Our education has been primarily through webinars, through visits at truck driving schools, and through our YouTube channel. If you've subscribed to our YouTube channel, it was formerly called Life on the Road Recruiting. The new YouTube channel, same channel, new name, new look, it's called Future of Transportation because the industry is evolving and we want to ensure that you're up to date on all the new things that are coming into the industry. Like I said, we have been teaching drivers about the return to duty process since it started in 2020, since the clearinghouse actually started in 2020. This is just a compilation of videos of me and my girls just talking about how to navigate through this return to duty process across our YouTube channel. Now, the return to duty process is a 6-step process. The first step is where you're first notified that you have a violation in the clearinghouse. And you can get a violation in the clearinghouse through either a failed drug screen or alcohol test, through a refused drug screen or alcohol test, and through what they call an actual knowledge violation. An actual knowledge violation means that you have it in your possession on a stop or a traffic stop or a DOT stop. They've actually seen it in your possession. So these are ways that you can get a violation in the FMCSA Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse. Once you're notified, you have to find a SAP. Make sure it's a trusted, reputable SAP. If you need help finding a SAP, let us know. We have trusted SAPs in our network that we can point you in the right direction to get started working with them. Now, after you have found a SAP, you'll have a conversation with them, and the SAP will then, in turn, designate you as their SAP in the clearinghouse. Once you've paid your money, once you've signed those consents, that SAP will become your SAP in the clearinghouse. Now, the next step is the SAP will do an initial assessment. So basically, they're going to ask you a few questions. They're going to kind of go into detail about their process, what it looks like, and each individual situation is different. SAPs cannot tell you exactly how long the process will take until they've actually gone through that assessment with you. Once they've gone through the assessment, they will ask you a series of questions. They will determine what your treatment plan will be. Once they determine what your treatment plan will be, they will then assign you classes, assign you therapy, assign you in person, out person. It depends on your particular situation based on what that SAP will assign you. In step 4, you've completed everything that the SAP says that you need to complete, and then you're able and eligible to return to duty. Once you are eligible to return to duty, the SAP will put a check mark in that final step 4. And that means that you can go and find an employer to get back in the truck. Now, there's two ways that you can get the check mark in the next step, which is step 5. The first way is that you go and find an employer. Once you find an employer, they will send you to take a return to duty drug screen. If for some reason you cannot find an employer, you're able to work with what the FMCSA calls a consortium third party administrator. The third party administrator can work with you and you can designate them in the clearinghouse. Our company is a third party consortium and administrator. We're a consortium third party administrator. We're able to send you to take the return to duty drug screen. Now, typically, I cannot tell you how it works with the employer, but I can tell you how it works with the third party administrator with our process. What we do is we get you to sign a consent form. The consent form gives us information about your SAP. It gives us your personal information and it gives us the approval to be able to look at your clearinghouse just like you would give someone approval to look at your credit report. No one can look at your credit report without you giving them consent. With the clearinghouse, it's the same way. Once you give us consent, you're a third party administrator, the consent to look at and view your consortium, you designate us as your consortium third party administrator in the clearinghouse. We personally will walk you through this process on how to do that. We then request the paperwork from your SAP and determine what tests, plural, that you need to go take. Some SAPs will send the driver for a return to duty urine screen. Some SAPs will send the driver for a return to duty urine and alcohol screen. So once we determine that, we schedule and send you to take a return to duty drug screen. Now, our team will call the lab before you go. Because for all of your tests moving forward, you will need to be observed by a person of the same sex. So, what we're doing is we're finding the labs in your area and we're picking up the phone to call to confirm that there is a male on duty if you're a man, or that there is a female on duty if you are a woman. Once we have established that you can go down, that someone is there, because we don't want you to waste your time. Once we've established that, the next thing is you go down and you take the test. You send us a copy of the CCF form so that we have that. That is showing us that you have completed the test. And at that point, we're waiting on the results. The results typically take about 3 to 5 business days. May take a little bit longer, may take a little bit less than that. We're constantly monitoring our results to ensure that they come back. And once they come back, we immediately we immediately go in to the clearinghouse and we update your status from red to green, from prohibited to not prohibited. So at that point, you have a check mark in step 5, and you're able to move on to the follow up testing plan. The follow up testing plan is a plan that's created by your substance abuse professional, the SAP, and the SAP will say exactly how many tests you need to take in step 6. The FMCSA says that you have to have a minimum of 6 in the first 12 months. However, we've seen SAPs that say you have to have a minimum of 8. We've seen SAPs that says you need to do 12 over the course of 2 years or 20 over the course of 5 years. Your situation is case by case and it is determined and designated by the SAP only. Now, in step 6, the only person or the only entity that can do those tests, or your employer, or a third party administrator, if you have a DOT, active DOT authority. A third party administrator cannot do it unless you have an active DOT authority, which means you're an owner operator. Now, let's move to the next step and talk about Clearinghouse Final Rule number 2. Back in October of 2022, the FMCSA Clearinghouse released a rule, and the rule was for the state driver's license agencies. It was not for the driver, the CDL holder, or the commercial learner's permit holder. It was for the licensing agencies. And they told them that they had 2 years to be able to get their system and connect it to the clearinghouse system. And so they told them that you have until November the 18th of 2024. Now, when November 18th comes, systems have to talk. Your driver's license agency will prevent you from renewing your license. They will prevent you from putting your medical on file, and they will downgrade your license. Now, the key words in this clearinghouse rule number 2 is that by and no later than. If you see right here, it says no later than, and right here it says by November 18th. So those are the key words. And so what that means is, and why I bring those keywords to your attention, is that some states have already started. Some states are already doing it. They're already saying that 1, you cannot renew your license. 2, you cannot put your medical on file. And 3, we're going to downgrade your license if you do not get out of step 4. You need to get a check mark in step 5 in order to prevent a downgrade, a refusal to renew your license, and a refusal to put your medical card on file. So they will not do anything if you are still prohibited in the FMCSA Clearinghouse. Now, here are 2 letters that we have gotten. We've gotten letters from several states. This is North Carolina and Texas. We've also seen letters from Virginia, South Carolina, Pennsylvania, Georgia. All of the states are starting to send the letters notifying drivers of the deadline that they personally have for their state in order to for them to downgrade their license. So you don't want your license to be downgraded. You need to get out of prohibited status immediately. Now, the first letter is from North Carolina, and their requirement is that not only will you be downgraded by that date, but you also need to surrender your license and send it in the mail or pay an extra $50 when you do get your license back. That is North Carolina. The state of Texas is the other letter. This particular driver, who we helped to get out of prohibited status, has had their license downgraded already. And what they had to do after they got that check mark in step 5, what they had to do was go down, set up an appointment, go down to the DMV, take their birth certificate, their passport, and their social security card and their license to be able to prove who they were. The license agency here in Texas, they actually ran a check in the clearinghouse because their system is already talking to the clearinghouse, checked to see that the driver is 100% out of prohibited status. And then, on only then, did they upgrade that driver's license back to a CDL. So when they downgrade you, you go down to a regular old license. You won't be able to drive trucks or anything like it until you get out of prohibited status. So once they checked the clearinghouse and checked to see that that driver was out of prohibited status, they checked everything and put everything right in the system, upgraded his license. He had to get a paper card. They actually mailed him the new license in the mail. So he had to start over. He did not have to go and take another written test or road test or go back to school. But he did physically have to go down to the DMV, turn in his information, and get his license upgraded because he had finally gotten the check mark in step 5.